Into the Radius 2 is releasing next week and is a highly anticipated sequel to Into the Radius. These two games have quite a few differences though, even though they are both Into the Radius. In this video we will compare Into the Radius 1 to Into the Radius 2. Don't be afraid of spoilers, we will only go to the first area in both games, so any late game enemies or areas will not be shown. Please note that the footage of Into the Radius 2 you see in the video is only a beta build, and bugs or weird things you see might have been already fixed in the early access release next week. Also note that Into Radius 1 is a 4-year-old game, while Into Radius 2 isn't even out yet, so don't take the comparison too seriously, but it's still fun to see the changes between the two games. Also, I'd really appreciate if you'd like and subscribe. We are so close to 2K subscribers. Thanks a lot. Without further ado, let's dive in. First, let's look at the graphics. Both games are running on medium settings because my PC would implode on max settings, but we can still see the improvements in Into the Radius 2. Here are some places in the starting area in both games, which is Pervamari Road and Peninsula respectively. Into the Radius 2 seems to have higher quality textures, shadows seem similar to the first game, although dawn and dusk look better in Into the Radius 2. The Radius itself, or whatever that giant ball in the sky is, looks amazing in Into the Radius 2. It now has a Saturn ring, as well as lightning strikes, making it a lot more dreadful. Graphical fidelity generally is higher in Into the Radius 2, which is awesome. While we look at the graphics, we can also look at the world design. While we cannot look at set pieces like the factory or crane in Into Radius 1 because of spoilers, and also because I haven't finished Into Radius 2 yet, we can still see some differences in how the world looks. First of all, Into Radius 1 has a more grey world. The ground is grey, the textures don't have much saturation, and the world is sometimes just empty. Into Radius 2 is a massive upgrade in my opinion, but it's really subjective what you prefer. The swampy looking area of Peninsula feels so dense. The foliage is amazing, the red water is dreadful, there are countless trees, and of course the random vehicles and barrels like in the first game, as well as houses and flying concrete. While I do have to say Peninsula is more linear than Pervamari Road because of the red lake that kills you, it's also more detailed and interesting. Now that we have compared the two areas, let's go a step back and look at ourselves. The player in Into the Radius looks like this. And the player in Into Radius 2, like this. The suit is now different and it looks and feels great. The backpack is significantly different, but also in Into Radius 2 you can now buy and change backpacks. The probe thrower looks different, but functionality wise it's the same. The only real difference is that, if I recall correctly, in Into Radius 1 it had unlimited uses, but now it has 50 probes before being empty. The detector looks different and also has a different function. It now only serves as a guide towards the anomalies instead of having to beam a light at the anomalies to make them visible, but we will get to anomalies later. The map also had a significant upgrade in Into the Radius 2. Here in Into the Radius 1 we can see that the map is simple. You can switch between the map, missions, nodes in a very analog way. While here in Into Radius 2, we can see a digital tablet and it's super satisfying to use and has all the functionality you need. You can also see our pending missions, which is great. The UNPSC Safehouse looks completely different to accommodate for co-op play, and it's also because it's a different UNPSC Safehouse than in the first game. It's larger, has more space to place things in, as well as a dedicated armory, but just see for yourself. Next, let's look at the weapons. We will compare the Makarov and the starter shotgun, which both handle very similarly to Interradius 1, but they sound different. And also, the shotgun seems to close smoother as well. Filling the magazines also works mostly the same, with the difference being that you now have to press trigger to open the ammo box first before being able to fill the magazine. Slight inconvenience, but it looks cool, and it's also easier to transfer ammo between boxes. Next, I'd like to show you some of the enemy design, which is also one of the strengths of Interradius 2. The enemies in Interradius 1 all look like shadows, and to be frank, it gets boring over time. In Into the Radius 2, we have enemies that have colors, and they look really detailed as well. Here is the spawn in Interradius 1, and here it is in Interradius 2. You can see that they low-key look like tumbleweed. Here they are side by side. Here is a pistol mimic in Interradius 1, and here is a pistol mimic in Interradius 2. You can see the difference. The enemy AI is smarter too. They actually take cover and peek now, which is so amazing. It feels actually difficult to play against them. I'm sure many of the enemies of Interradius 1 return, and that many more have been added, but I haven't played the game much to know that, but I'm pretty sure iconic ones like the sliders are making their comeback in Interradius 2. Now to the anomalies, we have some returning anomalies as well as new ones, like these spiky chairs. They are cool. There's also moving anomalies now, which I don't recall seeing in the first game. As for the artifacts, like I said, you don't beep them anymore, but either pick them up directly or shoot them if they are in a jar. I personally prefer Interradius 1 in this aspect, but the artifacts look better in Interradius 2 for the most part. Just check the neon one out, it's so sick. Lastly, the sound design, and I'll just let you decide on this one. As you can see, both games share similarities and differences, but all in all, they are both great games, and Interradius 2 improving on many of those aspects is reassuring. I think you will have a lot of fun with this game next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.